The pretrial immunity hearing for Rick Chow continues in the murder of Cyrus Carmack-Belton. On body camera footage, Rick Chow can be heard telling deputies that as he and his son Andy were chasing the teenager, when Carmack-Belton trips and falls, Andy sees a gun on him.
My son saw a gun. He was there. He's got a gun. So I took my weapon. I told him to drop it. He continued to run with the gun.
But the state established that neither Rick nor his son say in this footage that a gun was pointed at Andy. Prosecutors questioning if the chaotic scene went down as the Chows described.
So did anybody on the scene that you're aware of, whose last name was not Chow, any of those people say they saw a gun in our victim's hand?
None of them aware of it.
May 28th, 2023, a warm Sunday night in Columbia, South Carolina. Families were grilling. Kids were outside. People were stopping at gas stations grabbing snacks before heading home. For most people, it was just another night. But for one family, the entire world was about to change forever because a 14-year-old boy named Cyrus Carmack-Belton would leave home that evening and never come back. And what makes this story so heartbreaking isn't just how he died. It's the question that still haunts people years later. How did an accusation over bottled water end with a child dead in the streets?
Now, y'all know SCN loves some free cash, so I had to try this. And the good thing about it is, you could be in the bed, you could be at work, hell, you could be on the toilet and make money. Why not? Gas is high as hell out here, y'all. Get up to it. Either hit this QR code right here or click the link in the description.
Before the headlines, before the protests, before the courtrooms, that was simply Cyrus, a teenager, a son, a kid who still had his whole life ahead of him. 14 years old, too young to vote, too young to drive, too young to understand just how quickly life can disappear. People who knew him described him as energetic and full of life. The kind of kid still figuring out who he wanted to become. Like most teenagers, he wasn't perfect. No teenager is. But regardless of mistakes, he was still somebody's child. And on that night, his family expected him to come home. They had no idea they were about to get the worst phone call imaginable. That evening, Cyrus entered a convenience store in Columbia, South Carolina. Surveillance footage later reviewed by investigators showed him picking up multiple bottles of water before putting them back. Prosecutors argued that he never stole anything, but suspicion had already entered the room. Employees believed something had been taken. Words were exchanged, tension started building, and that's the thing about life. Sometimes the most tragic stories don't begin with a gun. They begin with an assumption, an accusation, a misunderstanding, something that should have lasted a few seconds. Instead, it turned into a chase. Cyrus left the store, but the situation didn't end there. Store owner Rick Chow and members of his family followed him outside. Prosecutors later said the pursuit stretched more than 130 yards from the store. Think about that. A grown man, a teenager, running down the street, one trying to get away, the other trying to catch him. Witnesses were later described seeing a frightened teenager running. Some testified they did not see a weapon in his hands. What was going through Cyrus's mind? Was he scared? Was he confused? Did he think he was about to get jumped? Did he believe if he just kept running, everything would eventually calm down? We'll never know, because the next few seconds changed everything.
We're not staying here today and talk about a very tragic incident that we had last night where a 14-year-old lost his life. It's senseless. It doesn't make sense. You know, we have a family that's grieving. We have a community that's grieving over a 14-year-old who was shot. His name is Cyrus Carmack-Belton. His family's been notified. We just talked to the mom just a few minutes before we came into here. I think it's very important that we get the truth out. There's a lot of different narratives that's being circulated that is not true, but the facts are very disturbing as they are. This happened about 8 o'clock last night at a convenience store on Park Lane where the victim went in. The owners of the convenience store suspected him of shoplifting. He did not shoplift anything. We have no evidence that he stole anything whatsoever. There was a verbal confrontation inside the convenience store. The victim went outside. He took off running. The son of the owner of the convenience store gave chase. The father, who owns the convenience store, joined in the chase. He was armed with a pistol. They chased a young man towards Springtree Apartments. Young man fell down. He got back up. At some point, the son said that he had a gun, that the victim had a gun, and we did recover a gun that was close to his body. At that point, the father shot the young man in the back. He was not laying on the ground. He did not have his hands up. The coroner will go through a little bit more details after the autopsy today, but you know, it was, regardless, even if he had shoplifted 4 bottles of water, which is what he initially took out of the cooler and then he put them back, even if he'd done that, that's not something you shoot anybody over, much less a 14-year-old, but you just don't do that. You know, this location has had lots of incidents in the past, shoplifting incidents. There have been confrontations between the owners of the store and customers and people in there actually shoplifting, but you don't do what happened last night. We're charging the owner of the store, Rick Chow, with murder. He should be arrested at any moment now, but he is charged with murder. I think that is significant for the community to know that, you know, we went through our process of our investigation. We had to wait on the coroner to do our autopsy this morning. We had to talk to witnesses. We had to make sure that we had the facts that we've been able to find. Again, what clouded the issue is that the victim did have a gun. There was a confrontation. We had to make sure that those who fired the shots did not have that gun pointed at them, and they did not, you know, in legal terms, be in fear of their life. And Rick Chow shot this young man in the back, and he killed him. And he is going to be appropriately charged with murder, which is what he should be charged with. Again, these are the facts of the case.
The pretrial immunity hearing for Rick Chow continues in the murder of Cyrus Carmack-Belton. On body camera footage, Rick Chow can be heard telling deputies that as he and his son Andy were chasing the teenager, when Carmack-Belton trips and falls, Andy sees a gun on him.
My son saw a gun. He was there. He's got a gun. So I threw my weapon. I told him to drop it. He continued to run with the gun.
But the state established that neither Rick nor his son say in this footage that a gun was pointed at Andy. Prosecutors questioning if the chaotic scene went down as the Chows described.
So did anybody on the scene that you're aware of, whose last name was not Chow, any of those people say they saw a gun in our victim's hand?
None that I'm aware of.
The day after the shooting, Chow was charged with murder. The call where he learns this playing in the courtroom.
Then you're going to need to make arrangements to turn yourself in.
Okay.
Okay, so what time can I expect you in the sheriff's department?
So you want me to come out and you know what's on under arrest?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so that I really get a counsel.
Well, so you need to come on in and we're going to have to come pay your visit.
The defense has targeted the integrity of the investigation.
I'm sure in your experience you've taken less than an hour and a half to
consider things, right?
One shot, one decision, one trigger pull. Just like that, a child's future disappeared. No graduation, no first apartment, no wedding, no children, no chance to grow older. Everything ended in a matter of seconds. The defense will later argue the shooting happened because the store owner's son believed Cyrus pointed a firearm during the confrontation. Prosecutors disputed that claim and argued there was no evidence the teen threatened anybody before he was shot. And that's where this case became one of the most controversial shootings in America, because two very different versions of events emerged. One side said it was murder. The other said it was defense of another person. When news spread across Columbia, people were devastated. A 14-year-old boy was dead. Protests formed outside the gas station. Vigils were held. People left flowers. People left candles. People left water bottles, a symbol connected forever to the tragedy. Parents looked at their own children differently, because once a child dies, every parent asks the same question. What if it had been my son? And that's what made this case hit so hard. People didn't see a news story. They saw a child.
Tonight, a lot of talk out there as a controversial Park Lane Road gas station has reopened in Columbia. This comes months after the gas station owner was charged with murder. Here's Zoe Henry.
This gas station saying it was open again. We drove by this afternoon and found these signs all across the property. Those signs read under new ownership, but community members have questions.
It's too early to just be like, all right, back to business. Because people are mourning.
Wanted to see if it's actual new owners here. You know, some people say it's new owners and, they just shift everything over so they'll be able to keep going.
The previous owner of the gas station, Rick Chow, was charged with the murder of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack-Belton of May of last year. Officials say Chow shot Belton in the back after chasing him away from the gas station. Chow claimed the teen shoplifted bottled water. According to the Richland County Internet Mapping site, the property the shell sits on is owned by Green Investment SP LLC. The South Carolina Secretary of State Business Entities Online site says the LLC is owned by Rick Chow for the same address as the gas station. Despite the signs of under new management, after attempting to find who that may be, we were unable to verify that there is a new manager.
So he's still gaining money while he's in jail for this, and he's still going to get money for this?
I called the Richland County Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Leon Lott declined to comment.
The legal battle has stretched on for years, with the case finally being taken to trial. The defense argued that Cyrus had a firearm and that the shooting happened while protecting another person. Prosecutors argued that the chase should have never happened, and that a simple review of surveillance footage would have shown no theft occurred. Jurors were asked to examine every second, every witness, every statement, every piece of evidence, because the truth often lives in the details, not the rumors, not social media, the detail. And regardless of where people stand on the case, one fact remained unchanged. A 14-year-old child lost his life. And I think that what we can learn from the story of Cyrus is this. This story isn't really about water. It isn't about a gas station. And it isn't about politics. It's about what happens when fear, assumptions, and split-second decisions collide. Too many young people are dying before they ever get a chance to become adults. Too many families are burying children. Too many arguments are turning into funerals. Sometimes, the biggest lesson isn't who was right. It's realizing that one moment can change dozens of lives forever. One decision, one chase, one shot, and Sully and the entire community is grieving. Cyrus Carmack-Belton was 14 years old. No matter what side of the case people stand on, that's a fact nobody can change. or a boy left home and never made it back. That's the part of this story that hurts the most. If this story touched you, leave a comment and tell me, what lesson do you think people should take from the death of Cyrus? Subscribe to Street News TV for more real stories, real lessons, and real conversation. This has been another SCN TV production. It's your boy, SCN TV.